Hi everyone, my name's Teddy, and in this session we're going to be going through the pros and cons of Amazon Wholesale. Now, did you know that 50% of people who do Amazon Wholesale turn a profit in their first 6 months? Now, for most private label sellers, that's how long it would take you to even get a product off the ground. But still, for most people, private label is where they start their Amazon journey. And I think the reason is because it's a bit sexier. You know, you get to create a brand and you get to do all this cool stuff by inventing new products, and you get to tell your friends all about all the cool products that you're inventing, and you get a bit of a boost from that. But really, this is all vanity. And if you think about why you started the business in the first place, it was to make money and to have the freedom to do what you want when you want to do it. And you have to keep that in the back of your mind all the time. Now, starting a business on Amazon Wholesale is a lot less risky, and in this video we're going to go through the pros and cons of starting a business using Amazon Wholesale. So let's go. Here on Hustle TV, we go through ways which you can hustle your way to making money online. So subscribe and hit the notifications if you think that sounds like something that you would like to hear more about. So firstly, let's start with some of the pros of Amazon Wholesale. Now, obviously, wholesale isn't the coolest business in the world compared with starting a whizzing new brand with all of the photos you can take and all of the marketing you can do. But that's kind of the point. It's quite a low risk way to start a business online. And especially if you've got more of an operations kind of brain rather than an arty marketing kind of brain. You know, if you've got a marketing kind of brain, you have to spend a lot of time focusing on, firstly, your own discipline, but secondly, you have to focus on things like creating social media posts and creating cool advertising or writing listings or all of that stuff that goes around building a brand. Now, if you're doing wholesale, all of that stuff is done for you because you're selling other people's products. So you can focus on more of the operations side of it. And this means that you can actually scale your business quite quickly. You know, you can focus on building great supplier relationships, or you can focus on building your team, or you can focus on learning about shipping efficiencies so that you can save a bit of money. All of these things are what you're going to need to know to do in order to be successful at Amazon Wholesale. But that doesn't mean that the business isn't scalable. You can actually buy quite large quantities and really start to build amazing supplier relationships so that you can build your business actually quite quickly. Once you've got a relationship with one wholesaler or one brand, it might be that you can start selling their other products or other brands that wholesaler does. So if you're speaking to a wholesale business, they might have lots of brands which they deal with. If you're speaking directly to brands, it might be you have lots of different products in different areas that you can start pushing forward. Now, this is a great way to scale your business, and you can build a relatively big business quite quickly. Now, if you're doing private label, you would need to spend a lot of time on marketing, doing photography, making sure your products look cool, testing the products, all of this sort of stuff. And they all bring risk into the equation. So starting a business on wholesale is actually quite a low risk way to do it, relatively. A second pro about Amazon Wholesale is that you already know the demand of a product. So you haven't got the risk of a product basically flopping. Now, if you're creating your own private label brand, you're essentially hoping that the research that you've done is enough to make sure that your product is going to be a success. But there's always risks around it. You know, there could be a new competitor just joining, or there could be a lot more competition in the area generally, or it could be that people aren't liking that sort of product anymore and it was a bit trendy. Now, if you're selling wholesale, you already know that a product's selling because you're using a brand that already has the reputation, and you're basically piggybacking off the back of that brand. And because the listings are already written, you don't have to spend any time writing the listings and doing that other marketing kind of stuff. You can spend all your time focusing on the product and the operations. On top of this, because the listings are already there on Amazon, or in most cases they're already there, you can actually use a tool like the FBA multi-tool to save you loads of time in knowing whether a product's going to be a success or not. Because by doing things like looking at the FBA multi-tool, you can see how many sales a product's making, and you can see the return on investment you'd make based on different levels. And here's a quick example of just exactly how it works. Now, this is a product I found that could be a good potential for wholesale, and the reason is that it's got quite a good price. I think it's making quite a lot of sales, probably because it's got a lot of reviews. But what you can do by using the tool, the FBA multi-tool, is you can actually see some more information about the sales and the product. So if I just click on this button here, you can see some more important information such as what's the buy box price, are Amazon selling it? No, they're not. What's the category? And then it would show you on here if there is any restrictions. And then you can see how many sales, and this is the coolest part, you can see how many sales a product is making. So this is making 2,000 sales a month, roughly. Now that's awesome. There's a lot of sales there. There's a good chance for you to make some money by also selling this product. Let's have a look at the FBA calculator as well. So what you can do in here is you can see what your different profits are going to be based on different return on investment and different sale prices. So say here it costs me £5 to buy this product. I can calculate my profit and then it will show me that my return on investment is 99%, which is obviously pretty good. We're aiming usually for 20 to 30% return on investment. So this is a really good tool and it's going to speed up your product hunting process drastically. Now, if you compare all of these things to private label, there's a lot of risk in private label that you don't have from doing the wholesale model. Another pro about Amazon Wholesale is that generally it's a bit cheaper to get started. You will obviously need some money to invest in order to buy the stock and get it sent to Amazon. But when you're starting a private label brand, there's loads of extra costs that you might not have thought about than you would have get from doing wholesale. For example, with wholesale, you need to buy the products and send them into Amazon. Those are your main two fees. But with private label, you've got to take your photos, you've got to write your listing, you've got to do freight from China or India or Indonesia or wherever you're shipping your products from. You need to write amazing listings, you need to spend loads of money on advertising. All of this stuff means that you're going to have extra costs that you might not know in the first place. Yes, building a private label brand does mean you're building this brand that is really cool, really sexy, you can potentially sell that at the end of the day. But wholesale has a lower upfront cost and you kind of know what all your costs are going to be. So now let's have a look at some of the negatives of wholesale. So in order to get set up with these wholesale brands and these other brands that you're going to be working with, you are going to need to at least appear like a legitimate business. Now obviously you're going to be a legitimate business because that's how you want to run your business in a legitimate way. But you need to make sure you appear maybe bigger than you are. So you'll need to do things like create a website and maybe even sign up for VAT. You'll need a limited company. All of these things are a bit of faff at the beginning, but in the long run, it's going to make you look super professional. And it means not only are you going to get more respect from the people you're buying from, but they're more likely to work with you, plus they're more likely to trust you. And also in the end, they're more likely to send you more work because you're seen as more of a trustworthy person. Unfortunately, some wholesalers do actually require you to have a physical store because they don't like sending stuff to residential addresses. The reason is often you need a forklift truck to get stuff into your warehouse or wherever you're storing it. So sometimes you need to make sure you've got a physical address. Now this could be a third-party warehouse or it could be a storage unit. Either way, you just sometimes need to make sure you aren't just shipping your stuff to your personal home address. Another negative about wholesale is that you will need to have some money to get started. Now obviously I went into that as one of the positives just now, but the reason for that is it's less than starting a private label business. You will still obviously need to have some money to buy the stock and to buy the shipping and stuff like that. But you can de-risk this upfront cost by using a tool such as the FBA multi-tool. When you're using that tool, you can see how many sales a product's making. You can see what your return on investment will be based on different sale prices. You can enter in the different variables for your costs so that you can kind of de-risk all of this upfront investment by seeing how much money you're going to get back in the end. So that's a really good way of doing it, and it's going to save you loads of time on top of that. Another negative about Amazon Wholesale is that there's always going to be competition. Amazon's a marketplace, it's a massive marketplace, it's one of the biggest websites in the world. And you're going to have competition from other sellers who might also have wholesale contracts with similar brands. Now ideally you're going to find brands that don't have too many competitors selling on there, and again you can use the tool to see how many competitors are on there. But if you are going to find that most products you sell are going to have some competition. Now the problem with this is sometimes the pricing is a bit of a race to the bottom, and whoever can sell it the cheapest is the person who's going to get into the buy box. If you want to see more information about getting into the buy box, I've got a card above me on the screen right now where I go into some more details about Amazon Wholesale. Now one of the biggest problems with wholesale, but this actually happens with every business, is that the product research can take a long time. Now with wholesale especially, researching the products can take quite a long time to find that true goldmine of a product that doesn't have too many sellers and you can sell it for a good price. Now it is worth putting this time in, and obviously using a tool will help save you loads of time when you're doing this. But you do want to be making sure that you're spending time doing this research so that you can actually find a product that is going to be a success for you. Now, just as a summary of the pros and cons of Amazon Wholesale. Now, obviously wholesale is cheaper and it is much quicker to get into than private label. You can be up and running in a few weeks rather than a few months that it will take for private label. On top of that, it's lower risk than private label, as by using the tools and doing your research, you know that your product's going to sell, and also you're piggybacking off the reputation of really reputable brands. But some of the negatives are, it can take some time to do that research and to find the suppliers. But to be honest, that is the same with every business that you're going to do. You're going to have to be doing some research in order to get started. And another negative is Dealing with businesses can take time, and it can take a bit of time to build up a reputation in order to get them to trust you with their products. But overall, if you've got a brain that's wired for operations rather than marketing, then I would say that Amazon Wholesale is definitely something that you should look at. If you've got any more questions about this, please just get in touch by putting any questions in the comments. And I hope you found that video useful, and I'll see you in the next video.